so interested in seeing what him and Quinn Ewers do this year. There's been so much hype.
We should have a pretty dangerous running back in Blake Corum.
Maryland's got Talia Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
A little too backyard football.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And you see who I'm with. My guy from up north, but reps that Michigan, Mr. Alex Loosmore. What up, Alex?
Not too much, man. Just kind of sad that this whole college football season's finally over. But I mean, we can look at draft now and spring football and some of these recruits coming in. It all starts over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is, we love the games. We love watching and the scores and all that. But this is almost like the real nitty gritty because you really start figuring out, okay, who's coming in, who's going to be next year's guy, who's going to, shock the world, and then who's going first, second, third, all the way down in the draft. I love this time of the year because it's like, okay, what do we have? Who's going to transition from college to the pros and have that same type of success? And
yeah, well, then we've had these last couple weeks.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, a little delay. You're good. You're
good. Okay. Yeah, you've got all these guys where you don't know if they're staying or going. There's this whole 2-week period for most of the people from the bowl games till this Monday is the deadline. And it's a whole lot. For us, we were waiting to see if Corum was staying or going. He's staying, right, which is huge. So yeah, it's an interesting time of year.
Oh yeah. And I love it. I'm excited about it. I mean, there's several names. You brought up Corum. We brought up defending national champ, back-to-back national champ, Stetson Bennett. We got, obviously, Caleb's coming back and Hartman's going to Notre Dame. And a lot of these guys are coming back, but there's a couple of the guys that you're like, are they going to return? What's going to happen? These next couple months will tell the tale, man.
Well, and the biggest name there is that quarterback of the school right between the two of our screens there at the top. Oh, yeah. Mr. CJ Stroud of Ohio State
absolutely
has 2 more days to decide. Monday's the deadline, and there's rumors coming up that he's coming back for one more run here. So, it's interesting to see because it's a guy that's almost guaranteed a top 5, top 10 pick,
right?
And I mean, there's unfinished business for sure. He hasn't beaten Michigan. He hasn't made the Big Ten championship. And obviously hasn't won the national championship either. So there's lots of things for him to come back and work for.
Yeah,
it's just surprising because that he can't really improve his stock that much. Right. And with a bunch of the quarterbacks that are coming into the draft next year, it's a weird business decision in terms of the NFL.
It is. I mean, we're talking about a guy that was back-to-back Heisman finalist. You know what I mean? Has had 2 stellar years, but you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. In Ohio State, lore, if you don't beat Michigan, would be the same with Michigan lore. If you don't beat Ohio State, it's just not the same. You can be however great you want to be, but if you can't get that done, we look at your head coach. He's winning all these games. He brought you guys kind of back to relevance, but for the longest time, he had his hardest time against Michigan State, hardest time against Ohio State. Once you get those W's, now we're starting to say, oh, okay, look at you now. But again, it's like you said, at the end of the day, when the lights are the brightest, Harbaugh and you guys unfortunately haven't been able to get it done. But back to Ohio State, CJ Stroud, he's been in this hunt. We've been in this situation, but you can't get over the hump. And then you kind of have that Ohio State quarterback, monkey hiding on your back. Like, shout out to Justin Fields, who's doing well. Well enough, I mean, with everything he's got going on, but
he doesn't have any help there.
Well, right. He's still making them at least watchable. It does make you ask the question: A, what can he get done, like you were saying? But B, is he maybe these might be my best days? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, what is it that I don't understand. You're top. We're talking top 5, top 10 money, and you're throwing that away. And if anything happens, God forbid you get hurt. So
I mean, look at Hendon Hooker was a potential first-round guy. Now we're talking third, maybe fourth round for him.
Yeah,
that's millions of dollars and an extra year guaranteed on a contract. Like,
oh yeah. I hear they're putting together a huge NIL deal for him.
Now is it more than his NFL contract would be? That's
exactly. That's the thing. Like if these two numbers are comparable, that's one thing. But that top 5 NFL money, you're getting some money. And I don't know any NIL deals that are going to put you up that high, but who knows? These guys are paying. Jay Lynn Loosemore. Is anybody really surprised that it wasn't Georgia or Alabama that won the national championship? Michigan or Ohio might have had a chance if one of the Golden teams wasn't in the running. I'll let you answer that one as a fellow Loosemore.
So I mean, I've said from the beginning of the season I expected Georgia to run the table and retain as national champions, but I didn't think Alabama. I kind of thought right around where they were this year, like just outside the playoff, 9-10 win team, still very good, but not good enough. And then I thought Michigan and Ohio State were the ones right behind them. So, I mean, I'm not surprised Georgia won. I'm a little surprised it was as dominant as it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should have expected that, but not surprised at all about Georgia winning it.
Yeah, and it will definitely break down that in just a second. As far as Alabama, I don't know, and I don't think I was in the minority, but with all that chatter from Saban at the beginning of the year, you thought this was going to be one of those years that's clearly 14-0, and they're just returning back to the top. Now, they only had a couple losses, but still, this wasn't Alabama from the past. As far as Michigan and Ohio State, I have talked to you all season, so I knew you guys were hungry, and it was straight to the top for you guys. But Ohio State was coming off that loss last year. I was looking to see how they rebounded. Then they lost again. They barely got in by the skin of their teeth, but let's be honest, they put up the best game that anybody's put up against Georgia this season. So I know I didn't maybe not expect them to be in that Final Four, but I expected them to be high. But Georgia, I saw one game after all offseason saying, "Oh, everybody went to the draft. They can't do it." And I saw one game, and I was like, "Yeah, they're gonna run away with it."
That 49 to whatever it was, 3 or 10 or whatever
Oregon,
it was against Oregon. I was just like, it's over. Give them the title now. Like it's.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, it'll see. Somebody saying hi, Alex Shelby. What's going on, Shelby?
Oh, hey, Shelby.
So saying hi, but let's get right into it. And shout out to our Georgia fans. We want to say congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs, back-to-back national champions after not getting a national championship. They lost it in 2018 with the game that Tua came in, but before that, the last time they had got it, I believe, was 1980. With Herschel Walker, so about 41 years. So we know our guys, Colin P from the DMV and our Georgia boy, Mr. Anthony Handy, were just beside themselves, as we would be if we won a national championship.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, hey, shout out to them. But, hey, get right into it. Like you said, this is what I expected if USC was fully healthy going up against Tulane. No disrespect to Tulane, but I would expected USC to blow these guys out and this to be more of a game. From what I saw against you guys to this, I'm not gonna lie to you, Axe. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch.
Oh yeah. There were multiple times where I turned it off and then I was like, well, there's nothing really else to watch, to turn it back on. Okay, turn it back off. Oh, okay, I'll turn it back on. Like it's the last game of the year. Like so many times just back and forth. But I think this is fully TCU gave it everything they had against us because they didn't expect to be here.
Yep.
They knew that's what it was going to take to get here, and I don't think they had anything left.
Yeah. And
Georgia had that war, an absolute war against Ohio State, and then that sharpened them, and they were like, "Okay, let's go. Like we're ready. It's ours." I think that's absolutely what this was.
And you saw it from the very beginning. I mean, it really did not take that much time for Georgia to get the W. Before you look, it was 10-7. Now, I will say you had that one drive by TCU where they drive down the field in 5 plays, 75 yards, and they do it in 2 minutes. You're like, uh-oh, okay, TCU. Now, okay, we're waking up. And you get the touchdown, and it's 10-7. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I was, okay, all right, here we go. Let's see what they can do. And that was it.
Yeah.
And the lights went out. And next thing you know, Georgia's eating chicken wings on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Celebrating. You know what I mean? So, I mean, 21 points were scored by Georgia. Actually, since that Duggan touchdown, 55 unanswered points were scored. McConkey got a little bit of action. Stetson Bennett, Milton, Bowers, Mitchell,
Branson Robinson, like the backup running back, like
right.
It was. Oh man,
it's rough. It's rough. Let's talk about Georgia TCU. Sorry, Shelby.
Ouch, yeah. But yeah, when TCU scored that touchdown, my only thought was, okay, how does Georgia respond to this? Because if they go put their foot on this throat, it's over.
Yep.
And that's absolutely what they did. And it was just like, okay, yeah, it's game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now I will ask this question because the game, like I said, was not in doubt, especially after the second quarter. Second quarter didn't go into halftime. This game's 38-7. It's just it's ugly. So you get late in the game is over. You put the backups in. And the backup score.
Yeah.
There's one school of thought that says, if you don't want us scoring, stop us. But there's another school of thought that says, throw in the damn towel. This thing is over. Are you okay with them continue? I don't think it was running up the score because it was the backups, but still run dive plays.
See, that's the thing, though. The scoring plays and that, they were dives. Like, Branson Robinson was running up the middle, dragging 3 guys. So, I mean, it's just I'm in the school of thought that if you don't want them to score, then stop them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like Georgia was running 4 verticals every play, like trying to score. They were running the clock. Like it was just they're that good. It's 5-star after 5-star after 5-star on the depth chart at every position. So it's just Georgia's insane right now.
Yeah, well, right. And so I think the immediate question, the question I've heard everybody talk about is Georgia the new Bama?
If you're talking the historical sense of Alabama, no. Georgia needs to be, and it doesn't need to be national championships necessarily, but they need to be dominant for another 3 to 5 years before they're in that category. Because ever since Saban took over in 2011 or 2010, 2011, somewhere in there, Alabama's been dominant.
Yeah.
Like a 9-win season is a horrible season for them.
Yeah.
A 10-2, 10-3 is awful for them. That's unacceptable. So Georgia's got to get to the point where that's their standard, where it's national championships and 10-2, 11-1 is unacceptable.
Right.
We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close.
Right. And I mean, hey, look, if they continue on this run and continue to be in the hunt, absolutely they need that attention. But I mean, to me, I say no, because I still think you got to get past, to your point, you got to get past like a Clemson. Clemson went to 6 CFPs in the last, 8 years? You know what I mean? Winning a couple. So shout out to what Georgia has done, because they've definitely followed the blueprint. Get the 5-star guys, get them on the field, get the coaches in here to teach them correctly what they need to be doing, and then you get the scheme right. I think that's the difference with the Georgias, the Alabamas, Clemsons, as opposed to other teams, is that you have the 5-stars, absolutely. You have the studs at every position, but you know how to scheme. Georgia wasn't throwing it deep down the field. They had a consistent running game. They threw it to their tight ends and their backs. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't think of, outside of Ladd McConkey, I'm questioning what other true wide receivers, but then you got Big O, but you also got Brock Bowers. I mean, the threats on that offense and the way that they are able to get everybody the ball is definitely something that they patterned off of a lot of these big teams. And Kirby's from that Saban tree. So we know how that is. But yeah, I too, shout out to him. No shade. You got back-to-back
No,
championships.
not at all.
Yeah, you have literally been the most dominant team. I think you and I conceded probably about midway through the season, and it was probably going to be a repeat, or at least definitely in the Final Four, because I didn't see anybody who can really top them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Michigan, like, we had a hell of a year, and when we got to the playoff, I was just like, I hope we can get there and put up a fight against Georgia. Like, I had fully conceded Georgia was winning. Like, now I thought Michigan and Ohio State could give them a game. And, I mean, we talked about that in the Georgia-Ohio State preview. But we all still expected Georgia to win.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah. So, hey, at the end of the day, Georgia got the W 65-7. It was not close. Alex could be Georgia.
Stop it. No.
Wow, Sky. Good morning to you, buddy.
Yeah.
As the Rams and all three of our teams are in the offseason in the NFL. So, hey, we'll be looking to get one of these
Scott,
guys.
your team loaded us up.
Oh, yeah.
6th overall pick.
Hey, and there's another conversation, not for the college show, but I definitely want to bring it out. I was talking to Nathan Snell, and the question got asked, who won that trade? Jared Goff going to the Lions or Matt Stafford going to the Rams?
I think you got to wait and see who gets picked with that Lions pick and kind of wait a bit to see how they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't necessarily think there's a loser in this trade, because you're the Rams, you got your Super Bowl.
Right.
And with the Lions, you got to finally reset, because we needed that full reset for years, and Stafford kept getting us to 7 to 9 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're constantly picking in the 15 to 20 range. So but it was different. No, it was different standards.
Yeah.
LA was all about that Super Bowl. Detroit was about doing that full reset.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
and I like that. I think that's true, because I think that was the main question, was the Super Bowl that Matt Stafford got, was that just it, the end of the conversation? But it's to your point, because what all the pieces, what you're building back up and bringing Detroit back into relevance is, I mean, even if they don't get a Super Bowl, that is more important, in my opinion, than the one and done. Because as we've seen, no disrespect, Scott, but the Rams are kind of imploding right now. And McVay might be out. Stafford, we don't know what's going on. I know Ramsey had a kind of cryptic message.
I was just gonna say, there's rumors of us trading for Ramsey, so Lions-Rams trades might not be done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, definitely stay tuned, Scott. All of the shows and all the different platforms we have, we'll be talking about this back and forth. But I definitely wanted to get that, because we got a Ram and we got a Lions fan on here. But speaking of bringing it close, bringing it to the draft, you got some guys on Georgia that you have to ask that question. Are they staying? Are they going? And one of the guys that I didn't expect to have this question about was Georgia's quarterback, Stetson Bennett. I mean,
so I looked right before the show. He's out of eligibility, so he's done.
He's done. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then he is gone. Stetson is coming to the league, which then again, keeping it with the whole theme of the offseason going into the draft, where in your mind does he get picked up?
I think he's in the 3rd to 5th round range.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because he's the same age as Lamar Jackson, who's now getting off his rookie deal.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to pick a quarterback early, say 1st round, with that 5-year rookie deal with that 1st round option, and have him negotiating his big contract at 30 years old. So that's a little scary. Scott thinks the Rams are getting Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Like,
he's like, get in line, quarterback.
He's like, Rams are getting them. Yeah. So, I think you guys might be going running back at 37, honestly, because they don't necessarily like Cam Akers still, even though he played well late this year. But yeah, I think Stetson, mainly because of the age, and then I mean you factor in the size and everything. I love Stetson Bennett, but I think realistically he's in that range with where Hendon Hooker is going to go, with some of these older quarterbacks and some of these other quarterbacks that have those red flags, injuries or otherwise. See King Henry coming to LA. Yeah.
Look, the epitome of Madden draft. Yeah, your fantasy draft. Come on, man. Stetson's only 5'11", too, as height is a concern.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's going on, Ash? They really hated Cam Akers until the end of the season after I already traded him in fantasy. Yes.
Yeah.
We understand. But look, so we know about it. We know they're Jalen Carter, obviously, seen in many mocks that he's potentially the number 1 pick, if not, top 5 pick.
Be.
Yeah. So they got a couple pieces that are definitely coming out, and we're gonna move on to the way too early CFP for the 2023. We want to talk about that Final Four, and we have to start right here. We have to start with Georgia. The biggest thing a year ago, they lost Nakobe Dean. Yeah, well, obviously, yeah, but they lost Nakobe Dean. They lost Big Baby. You lost, Pickens. You lost all these pieces, and they still came back and repeated, and we're still the most dominant team in the country. Now you're losing Carter. You're losing Stetson, who has, is what, 28-1 or something in his last 2 years, something like that.
Yeah, 29-1.
Yeah, 29. Yeah, in the last 2 years, and then he's leaving.
Insane.
Right. So, but it asks the question: are they? I mean, I know they're going to be number 1 coming into. Well, let's hope, because they weren't number 1 this year. But
if they're not number 1 this year, it's a crime.
It's rape.
Right. Let's be real.
Saban's he's paying somebody if they ain't number 1. But look, so are they? But are they the favorites? Are they definitely in your Final Four coming into this year?
Oh, without a doubt. Until I see them prove me wrong on the field, they are number 1.
Yeah,
and they should stay number 1.
Yep.
It's funny because we're talking about you lose Jalen Carter, you lose Keely Ringo, you lose Stetson Bennett, you lose Big O, all these guys. Well, we talked about it. You lost Nakobe Dean, you lost Quay Walker, you lost Jordan Davis, you lost Devontae Wyatt, you lost Lewis Seen, you lost George Pickens. Like, it's just this team loses so much, but then reloads. Right. Now the big question is, can Carson Beck do what Stetson Bennett's been doing? Don't take over these games. Just trust your weapons and just get them the ball when they need to. Don't play hero ball. Just be that game manager, that very, very good game manager.
Right. And that's something that I think, talking about the draft and going to Stetson, he needs a team like that that's already established, where he would be able to come in and just take the reins and not do too much, but do just enough. A lot of people, I don't know if they understand that with at Georgia, he didn't have to do too much. Now, his legs and his ability to be mobile and hit the right guys was paramount. And that actually, that's what's moving him up, in my opinion. And then that overall leadership ability. But he didn't have to be a Caleb Williams or a CJ Stroud or somebody that was by far the best player on the team. He could just do his role. And I think that's going to bode well for him, as long as he's not in a situation where he has to be the guy immediately.
Yeah, I think Stetson, if he goes, you're looking at a few of these teams, he would do well in a Tampa. I'm just trying to think of a couple other teams. I think he'd do well in New York with the Jets. I think he'd do, and that's an interesting one, because a lot of them you look at, is New York too big for some of these guys? We saw Stetson Bennett be up all night getting phone calls from Tennessee fans, go out, ball out, and do the phone thing and slam it down. The moment's not too big for this kid. He absolutely could go to one of those markets and do absolutely well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Would y'all stop in the comments talking about what Dallas needs? This is a college show, daggone it. But all right, so outside of Georgia, and with them potentially getting back in this scenario, who are your other 3 teams that could potentially challenge them or even knock them off that perch?
So I'll start it by saying, if CJ Stroud does end up coming back, Ohio State takes the 4th spot for me.
Okay.
But I've got Georgia 1. I still have Michigan 2. With all these returning pieces, I don't think they miss a beat, as long as Harbaugh comes back. Number 3.
We're working on that.
She did say she's looking to see who the Cowboys take.
Right.
So yeah, I'll go Georgia 1, Michigan 2. I'm going to go USC 3.
Yep.
I think you still have time to fix some of those holes on that defense. You got another year with Caleb Williams, Mario Williams, some of these pieces offensively. Jordan Addison is a huge loss, but I think you'll replace him.
Yeah.
And number 4, I just slid them into number 4 last night. because of the hiring of a certain offensive coordinator from TCU going to Clemson in Garrett Riley, with Cade Klubnik being the quarterback. I have Clemson sliding back into that 4 spot.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. Oh, I absolutely like that. So I'm gonna go 4-1. Georgia's number 1, so that's spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me. And this is something that I really see happening. They had a rough part of the year in the beginning of the year, but I got Notre Dame. I got Notre Dame at number 4. Sam Hartman, I think, elevates that team from a 10-win team to a CFP team. Barring any health issues, I honestly think he's a guy that's really going to push up his draft stock coming into this year, and I think he can do that. Our number 3s are the same. With Cade Klubnik in there, you're getting that defense. We already know all the talent that's going in the first 10 picks of the draft from Clemson. I mean, and they're another one that's reloaded under Dabo. I am 100% thinking that they're going to take the ACC, especially you got Leary went to Kentucky. You know what I mean? We know what our Drake might do, and who knows what FSU will do, but a lot of those guys have left. Brennan Armstrong is out of there. So I think Clemson can kind of run away with this one. And them and FSU. FSU is one that I definitely want to put that asterisk on because I want to see. Number 2 for me is fully dependent on what happens in between y'all and Ohio State. If Harbaugh comes back, if Corum comes back, you get McCarthy another year. I think y'all get a three-peat over Ohio State, and y'all are back in that number 2 spot. If Stroud is back, coupled with all of those guys not coming back from Michigan and all of the off-field stuff, all of the rumors and infractions that we've heard about, I got Ohio State number 2. But that's solely based on CJ Stroud coming back.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then obviously Georgia number 1. But a lot of my hopes and dreams are putting it on Notre Dame this year because I feel like he is that next step that they needed. They've always had a random quarterback, over at the helm. He's that guy that he has that star power. He has the ability. He already has the miles. You know what I mean? If you get him protected with Coach Hamilton, oh man, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to see what he does.
If Notre Dame makes the playoff, that blows up my USC one and the Ohio State one because they play Ohio State, they play USC, they play Wake Forest. Sam Hartman gets to play his old team. They're at NC State. Like they've got a gauntlet of a schedule. They can fight through that and maybe one loss, but more than likely have to go undefeated. They're a lock for a playoff team, absolutely, with that schedule.
And shout out to this year because this will be the final year of Just 4, and then after that they start the 12-team finals with breakdown playoff bracket, whatever you want to call it.
4 first-round buys and then 5 versus 12, all that.
Let's
you
go.
Get conferences like USC, UCLA are Big Ten, Oklahoma, Texas are SEC. Like 2024, the whole landscape of college football changes, and I cannot wait. It's so exciting.
Exactly. I can't wait to see what goes down in that. And look, so it's going to be great. This is going to be the last, just like the last year of the BCS. We're going to see what happens and how it kind of moves forward.
It's all about that quarterback, though, Ash.
Yep.
All about that quarterback. Sam Hartman is like 1 or 2 in every single statistical category in history for ACC, the quarterback position. So what he brings to Notre Dame to give them legitimacy at quarterback for the first time since maybe Brady Quinn.
Yeah.
Like he's better than Deshaun Kaiser was at the college level. He's better than some of these other Everett Golson, some of those guys. So yeah, he's the best quarterback since Brady Quinn, and Brady Quinn was a hell of a quarterback for Notre Dame.
Right. And I think, what did they end this year? Did they end top 20?
I will take a look, but I think so.
I think they were outside, very far outside looking in, because towards the end of the year, they had like a 7-game winning streak. Like they turned their season around, ended up going 9-4 after starting, I believe, 1-3.
Yeah. So they finished 18th.
Oh, 18th. Yeah. So honestly, and we both kind of feel the same thing, Ash, that the quarterback and the last couple quarterbacks have really kind of been just fill-ins, like no-name guys. It's been a while since they've had the type of top-tier talent like they have. I mean, Notre Dame, and Ash, I'm going to go back in the history lesson for you. Notre Dame used to perennially have their guy at QB.
Yeah.
We're talking about Joe Theismann. We're talking about Joe Montana. You know, he didn't pan out in the NFL, but Rick Meyer, he was the next guy.
He was very good at Notre Dame. Yeah,
I'm telling you. So there was a lot of Notre Dame used to be quarterback where the top tier guys go on the top tier scene. Obviously, Notre Dame and NBC have that long-standing TV deal that they have. Yep. So yeah, Notre Dame definitely is a quarterback away. Keep an eye on. Oh yeah. We'll help you with that.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Don't get your hopes up. Hartman's not going to Dallas. He's not.
Ash, keep an eye on your Iowa Hawkeyes next year too. I think they're going to be good.
Oh, absolutely.
You got a legit quarterback finally too,
right?
And a tight end he's very comfortable with. Yeah.
Oh yeah. What is happening? Don't play with my guy. Don't play with him. You know that's
look at the jerseys over the top. There ain't
right. Oh man. Yeah, buddy. So that's our way too early CFP for 2023. Let's see what you guys have coming. Does Iowa shock the world and get in the CFP? Does that make you crazy? Let's go.
Oh,
that would be interesting. Yeah,
you know how much would have to happen. Be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh, and I can't wait till next year once you get everybody in there. You got Ohio State and Michigan, all of them, Penn State, those guys, and then you bring the UCLAs. Then you bring the USCs, right?
I think that's why Dante Moore flipped to UCLA from Oregon. Honestly, is the fact that he gets to play closer to home. You get to play games in Ann Arbor and East Lansing and Columbus, and I think that was a huge selling point for him when he switched.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I love that. Every time we score, I look up as if it was a defensive touchdown because I know our offense can't score. Look, Petra's gone. All right, I'm sorry you had to live through Petra at quarterback, but he's gone. Ash.
It just sucks that Sam Laporta's gone too.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Well, there goes that hope. Sorry about that, Ash. Let's get it. Oh yeah, we shall see what Cade does with their O-line. OC not convinced yet. It's interesting. Very, very.
I'm expecting a good year. I'm the opposite of Kate.
Oh, yeah.
I think Iowa back to that 8, 9, 10 win team again.
Whew, I like it. I like Iowa when they're dominant.
Me too.
It's hard to watch because obviously we know they're heavy run, solid defense, great special teams. But I still like it. I still like it. Yo, let's go ahead and move on. The 2023 season is behind us. We feel you, Ash. We feel you. The 2023 season is behind us, and there was a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
Some teams showed up, players, coaches. One of the surprises I want to drop out, and we can kind of go back and forth with this. I'm very surprised on the start that Notre Dame had. Speaking of Notre Dame, they came out of the gates and were completely flat. And now I understand they had their new coach and they were still kind of trying to get acclimated with everything. But that team is a solid team. And then coming out of the first game after losing to Ohio State, but holding them to 21 and holding that very close for most of that game, I just expected. I wasn't surprised by that. But then, they lost to Marshall. They lost, some games that I really felt like they should have been walking away with. And then at the end of the year, ranked 18th, only 4 losses, you're like, damn, what happens if they just those other 3? You know what I mean? Not maybe that Ohio State game, but those other 3, man, they could have just got that. So I was really surprised that he kind of fell out of the gates. I'm glad that he picked it up, and I wasn't surprised by that, but I was really surprised that he fell out of the gates. What are one of your surprises?
I mean, the obvious answer is TCU.
Yeah.
They're the second team ever that was unranked going into the season and made the playoff, and they're the first one to do it and make the national championship.
Yep.
So, I mean, TCU's the absolute surprise. I just saw Anthony's other comment there. No, we didn't. No. Yeah, I mean, TCU's a huge surprise. I had Kansas. I mean, what they did.
Yeah.
To start the season there. I've got surprises going the other way. But for my good surprises, yeah. I'd say TCU, Kansas. and Utah, I think, to be as dominant as they were. I expected them to be good, but to be that good, I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I was surprised that they moved up as quickly as they did. And again, last year, they did well, and they were able to get through in the Pac-12. But we know those two players that they had lost their lives prior to and in the midst of the season. So they had a little chip. They had something to play for. But this year, I was surprised. And sticking right there, Cam Rising. Really, I think, elevated his game. Now, I don't think you put him in a top 10 pick, whenever it eventually comes out. But see, Cam Rising is one of those gutsy, like a Max Duggan, like one of those guys that really is leading his team. And it was no more evident than in that first game against Florida, where he literally tried to put that thing on his back against a team that, didn't end up faring too well towards the end, but a new coach, new team, SEC, Pac-12. And I really thought that was such a great way to start the season for them, even though they weren't able to get that dub.
Yeah, that was huge for them. If you're talking players, I mean, Cam Rising was right near the top of my list. Obviously, you got Max Duggan, who wasn't the starter to begin the season, comes in, takes over. Heisman finalist, has the season that he had. Hendon Hooker, obviously, was a big one, what he did at Tennessee. I mean, there's so many to go over.
It really is.
That Pittsburgh running back, I can't pronounce it. Abenaconda. Yes. The phenomenal season he had. Just so many phenomenal players, too many to list. I mean, I'll throw Drake May in there too.
I got to.
Did we really expect that kind of year from him right off the bat? Like he was insane this year.
Yeah.
So he deserves all that praise too.
I didn't see that coming at all. I'm not going to lie. I love everything that he's pulling together, and I love just how good he has become. But I mean, just to elevate to that level and have them the way, and I mean, and he did all of that minus having a defense. Let's not forget that App State scored 40 points on us in the fourth quarter and 61 overall. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's a gunslinger. No memory. He's not thinking about the interception, not thinking about what he did in the past. He's just going. He's got wheels. He can run. He's just a leader of that team, and he really sets that team up for success. Because outside of Josh Downs, you have one other receiver in Green. We have a freshman tight end, Nesbitt. A couple of these guys are okay, but there was really kind of an absence of the running game. Pettaway was hurt for a while. He just took over. He just looked like he had been there before. Yep. And it's one of these things where it's like, I just got Sam Howell. And now, if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Howell is named the starter. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Don't mess this up, Washington. All right. But then it's just like you got him, he leaves, and then reset. And then we have a new guy that's coming in doing it. So I'm eager to see what happens in this coming year. Now, Longo's gone. A number of our coaches gone. Dre Bly, great corner that played at UNC, and actually Scott went to your Rams and helped them win a Super Bowl.
And my Lions, he played on my Lions too.
Right. Yeah. So he's gone. He's leaving. So it's going to be a definite change there. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
And another one that I forgot to mention, Oregon's quarterback Bo Nix there.
Yeah.
We had all written him off, and then he came back and had that kind of year right in the Heisman race near the end. I mean, absolute surprise there. And a great year for Bo Nix, and I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Well, and I think that's the case because Handy, he's one of those that said we'd all talked about him kind of, not being comfortable in the pocket. Handy said it was happy feet. I think that's the difference in that is that Auburn, I mean, we see Harsin didn't last a full year. They were, I mean, who they got in one of their old running back, Cadillac Williams was their interim coach for a little bit of time. Auburn has been struggling and really kind of going downhill in the last couple of years. And Bo Nix, I mean, he was highly touted. They brought him in. They thought he was going to be the savior, but they didn't really have much else with them outside of Tank Bigsby. So I think him getting that new life was great, minus the first game where he had flashbacks. We all know he had PTSD. No disrespect for PTSD, but he definitely was seeing SEC when Georgia came. But for the rest of that year, like I think they averaged like 40 points a game. Like he was just putting it up all over the place. And I like that. That bodes well for him. He's coming back. And I kind of think he needs to come back, but I'm wondering, I don't know if he might have reached his ceiling. I'm eager to see if he can kind of build on that, you know?
I mean, I gained huge respect for him. It was a loss, but that Washington game where he had that bum ankle, he couldn't run. He couldn't, like, when he got taken to the ground, he needed help getting up. He couldn't get himself up.
Yes.
And he's still throwing 40, 50-yard dimes, like right on the money. Just making every throw he needed to keep them in that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, he couldn't run at all. So he gained a ton of respect for me in that game.
Absolutely. I'm gonna say it's super impressive to see y'all rattle off these names in college and NFL. I'm overloaded by NFL alone. Yeah. Once you start getting to the fact that everybody from one is eventually gonna go to the other, and then it's just recycled. It's recycled. It's like people I've talked about for 3 years over here. Oh, now he plays at this team, so I can talk about him over here.
Yeah.
We'll get you there, Ash. We'll get you there.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely have some comments in here. Hey, will Alabama come back to greatness?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, I think it's easy to say they will, but along the line of surprises, yes, it did surprise me. You and I both said they're going to come in here guns a-blazing and just destroy everybody. And they didn't look that way. And it started off with that Texas game. When they went to Texas and almost lost a backup quarterback, and who Hudson Card, shout him out, had a great game, but still you knew that there was cracks in the armor, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And then losing to Tennessee, then LSU, and you're like, what is going on? Now, that was last year, and this is this year. So we've seen Saban is ready to go. We thought that last year. So Alex, talk to me, because I think it's safe to say you think they will return to greatness. But does that mean win the national championship next year? Because neither of us have them in our Final Four. So
no, I don't. I think we got to talk relative greatness. I don't think you're going to get the Alabama greatness that they expect. You're not getting a national title next year. I don't think you're getting playoffs either. There's not enough around Jalen Milroe, who's the new starting quarterback,
right?
To come in and win, to essentially go 15-0, which is what it seems like you're going to have to do to be a national champion nowadays. I think you'll still win 9, 10, maybe 11 games, which is greatness for 99% of the college football programs.
Right.
But that Alabama greatness of expecting championships every year, you're not there yet. It's a couple more years, I think.
Yeah. And I think this is solid. Talking about, is Nick willing to implement some new thought process, new schemes, is he able to continue to move with the trends? You've seen coaches that are rendered obsolete because they stick with their ways. They don't change up. So if Saban is able to do that, I definitely think that. As far as reload, I do think they reloaded it in every other position except for wide receiver. Alabama has been known for wide receiver over the last 10, 15, 20 years with, names Julio, Calvin Ridley, you know what I mean? Like Waddle, a lot of big names coming out of there. But this is the first year in at least recent memory that I can remember that they did not have any threats, in my opinion, at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like, I can't name a guy. I can go give you Mechie. I can go give you Williams for last year. I can go give you names in the last couple of years.
Devonta Smith.
Judy,
Waddle, Judy,
right.
Ruggs, just
all of them. Well, sorry, Ruggs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But all of them, it's crazy. And this year it was really like, y'all are.
Yeah, who are these guys? Yeah,
right. Y'all are bad. And the fact that Bryce Young still got up as high as he got in the Heisman contention and everything, with really no wide receivers, it was a different year for Alabama. But going to the question, can you return to greatness? Yes, I think they can definitely do that.
It's Saban. He can get them back.
Oh yeah, and they are definitely Alabama fans are salty, right? Well, I mean, obviously they're expected to be here, and then they're not. That's
And what makes it worse is their old DC is the one that's up here now.
Right.
So,
and I think that's the biggest problem that Alabama fans have is that kind of like the Belichick and his coaches, they can never seem to beat Belichick. The Bam up until last year or up until 2 years ago when Texas A&M, when he beat them, no coach from Alabama that had left, Alabama gone to another team had been able to beat Saban. Then you have Texas A&M beating them a year ago. Then you have Georgia beating them in the national championship. You're starting to get some of these teams that are coming in here and are not afraid, if you will, and are challenging the top team and challenging Bama. So I think it was one of those where you can't just walk into it like, look at me. People are like, yeah, you're normal. Let's go.
Yeah.
So.
And Anthony's right about his last comment there. Kirby was with the Dogs before Bama. Went to Bama, became a DC, was on that last back-to-back championship team, and then left, came back to Georgia, and now he's the most recent back-to-back, and what he's done with Georgia is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. And then one could really say he does owe a lot of that to Saban and some of the things that he picked up. I mean, the blueprint is there. Dabo was one of the ones that first picked up on it, the blueprint that Saban had. You get those guys, you continually bring in these 5 stars, you continually find the best players, and then you work your schemes, you work how the system's going to play out. Saban has been teaching it, and these other guys have been picking up on it. So, hey, they're down now, but, hey, you know what happens.
But the difference with that is where Saban's taught all these guys how you do it. These coaches are now doing it like Dabo and Kirby Smart and all them, but they've revolutionized it and taken it to the next step.
Exactly.
Where Saban's still here doing it the same old way. And Kirby and Dabo and all these guys have elevated it.
Mm-hmm. Alex should have his own bobblehead. Absolutely.
I do know my head a lot, yeah.
Get on that, Scott. Let's get one of those. I'm loving it. Georgia UGA fans have never been so relevant, not even after the 1980 championship. Yeah, they had come back, especially in the 2000s. You had Matt Stafford and Knowshon Moreno and some of those guys. But to get to this level of relevance is, definitely unmatched. And, hey, let's see. Kirby is good because who he – okay.
But that's everyone.
We just said that. Yeah,
that's
exactly. Everybody always learned off of somebody else. So shout out to them. They're getting it done. So yeah, those were our surprises. Now let's flip it. What didn't we see? What didn't live up to expectations as far as players and coaches? For me, it was some of these teams, some of these players, some of these running backs. For one, I have been talking about Lou Nichols out of Central Michigan all year long. Came out, led the country, I think, all-purpose yards a year ago. And this year just he dealt with injuries. He dealt with problems here and there, but it just was not the same. And this was a guy that did it in spite, despite maybe not having the best team in Central Michigan. But after this, he was one of those I thought bet on himself and stayed back. And maybe he should have just parlayed all his success he had last year to the pros because I don't know. I mean, he's a great athlete, but I don't know that he gets drafted prior to the 5th round. If that right now, it's stressful. What do you think, man?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And I mean, a lot of that too has to factor in the team around him. Obviously the injuries played a huge factor. But that Mac overall has gotten a lot better too. So better competition, didn't have as much around him to help him this year. And you look at the draft, running backs are devalued now. Obviously, we're talking about Bijan Robinson is probably a lock for the 1st round. But after that, you're maybe 2 running backs in the 2nd round, maybe 2 or 3 in the 3rd round. Then after that, it's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. A lot of these big-time running backs too are undrafted. It sucks because I think he should have gone there as well, but he should have gone to the NFL instead of staying. But that's the risk you take, right?
Yeah, No, absolutely. Absolutely. Anthony says Coastal Carolina had them to come back and dominate, maybe
Yeah.
finish top 10. Yeah, okay. Did you feel that you thought that way too?
I didn't think maybe top 10, but they definitely fell short of expectations for me this year,
Yeah.
especially with Grayson McCall and just a lot of that hype that was built around them.
Yeah.
I expected them to be in that, I'll say the 11 to kind of 17 range.
Mhm.
Like a very good team, maybe playing in a New Year's Six Bowl. But yeah, they fell short of expectations for me.
Yeah, I too saw them top 20. But I did question how they would go up against like the perennial powers, the top tier teams. And they had a rough year, and hey, McCall's coming back for another year. So we'll see if he could, exceed expectations coming into next year. But they were definitely one that kind of took a step back.
Anthony.
Took a step back. Are you? I'm not. No, I'm not gonna do that. I apologize. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be on here live doing that stuff.
I'll go to the SEC for another massive disappointment. Probably the disappointment. It's Texas A&M.
Absolutely.
Everyone had. I mean, they were ranked like 4th or 5th to begin the year.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were ranked as high as the number of losses. Like they had more losses than their ranking was to begin the year. Like didn't even make a bowl. And the number 1 recruiting class, and Jimbo Fisher is a top 10 coach in college football. And just to have that lackluster of a season, biggest disappointment to me. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to go there. And then another one that the quarterback is getting highly touted, but maybe didn't have a lot of help. Kentucky. I came into this year with Levis really being that guy. He's gonna jump his draft stock up, and he's really gonna show people. And now, mind you, he didn't have Rodriguez for like the first 4 games, and he really didn't have the team that he had in the past. So I thought that really, really shocked me on how far they dropped, because those are one of the teams that we were looking into this year. Like, can anybody give Georgia a run? I thought a healthy Kentucky team could have done it based on the year prior to that, but no.
Anthony's going right along with you, as you started talking about it.
Stay in. Well, SEC. Oh, for sure. So yeah, that's definitely somebody that I didn't. What other teams? Because I know for me, one of those that really kind of messed with me out of the Pac-12. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. It messed with me all year long. And it was Arizona State. I didn't expect Arizona State to be in powers, but I'm a Herm Edwards guy. You play to win the game. Like, I love that guy. So him being there and seeing some of the guys that they had come into the draft from him, I was sitting here, Rashad White and N'Keal Harry. You got some of these guys that are making contributions on the team. Yes, Ash, ASU. I know you're near there, aren't you, Ash? That's right.
And that's Sid's team,
right? But I thought Herm Edwards would have elevated them, and then for them to, obviously fire him the way they did and attempt to just build a coup and get him out of there the way they did. It killed me. It killed me because I really thought they could have been something that could have at least challenged in the Pac-12, but they got more issues at in-house than I expected.
It really hurt them to lose Jaden Daniels as well. For him to transfer to LSU. Yeah. He was a big part of their success from the year prior. Obviously, Rashad White as well. So to lose both of them really hurt them. I mean, there's multiple other disappointments. The more I think, like Wisconsin was a big one for me. Yeah. I mean, Iowa kind of, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, like Anthony said, Baylor.
Yeah.
BYU, Oklahoma.
Throw Houston in there.
Houston, yep. I mean, when you're picking out of 150 teams, there's going to be a ton of disappointment.
Well, right. Yeah. Any players, any quarterbacks that maybe didn't do it? I know it's sticking with the ACC. Obviously, injuries played a part in this. Devin Leary, he was supposed to be 1A, 1B with Sam Hartman. Obviously, the injury stopped that. Then you have also Brennan Armstrong, who, again, another one who I can't really blame because there was a new coach, a whole new system that they ran, which totally switched things up. But at the same time, he still brought back his 2 stud receivers who each had 1,000 yards the year before. So I felt I was one of those in the beginning of the year. I feel like this is Colin Cowherd, where I was wrong. Because Brennan Armstrong definitely laid an egg this year in an ACC that we're moving up. But you could say Clemson was in a down year. Not really, but they with DJ in there, it was a struggle for them. And, some of these other teams were still kind of finding their footing. I thought this was an opportunity for him to show up, and he didn't at UVA. So
yeah, I mean, you look at him, a couple other ACC quarterbacks, Kadon Slovis, JT Daniels. Yeah, I didn't even see that comment as I said it. But yeah, JT Daniels, absolutely. Yeah. There was one other one I had in mind. Let's see if I can come up with it again here.
Let me see.
I saw the Cam McCormick comment there, and it kind of threw me off. I mean, Spencer Sanders a little bit, and it wasn't really the stats. It was more, interceptions. He threw a lot of interceptions this year. Yeah. But just kind of like what Anthony said before with, we expected Oklahoma State to be so much better than they were, and they were just kind of meh. Like they were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially how they started the season.
Sanders. Yeah. Once they lost to TCU, they kind of fell apart.
Right.
That was a heartbreaking one. That was, they came to you and you lost in overtime. So, as a coach, no. My big quarterback one, that just reminded me. It was DJ Uiagalelei. Yeah. Without a doubt. He was one of these guys that was talked about as a potential top 5 pick, pretty much a lock to go in the first round. Yeah. Heisman. Clemson was going back to the playoff, and then he was bad last year, and he was worse this year. He was awful this year.
Yeah.
You look at it. You guys played them in the ACC championship game. He gets 1 or 2 drives, plays awful. Then they get Klubnik in, and they're just on a roll. They just can't miss.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for reminding me, man. No, but to your point, that's absolutely right. And I'm sitting here like, keep him in the game. Game. As soon as Klubnik came in, I just sat back in the chair like, here we go. Because Klubnik is that guy. He is better than DJ. And DJ, okay, maybe body type, maybe, athletic ability is a little bit better, but Klubnik can sit in that pocket. He can sit here and dissect the defense. And he has wheels on the same time. So it's not like you're dropping off that much with that athleticism. Klubnik is their guy, man. What took him so long? I don't know that he needed to make that move. It wasn't imperative for him to make it because you have a defense that has, top 10 picks on that D line. You have studs in the secondary and linebacker, and you still have Shipley at running back. You still have wide receivers and weapons at running back. DJ just couldn't, almost like Spencer Rattler, just can't seem to figure it out. He has a couple games that are decent, but it's just, in the end of the day, he's going to let you down.
Well, you look at it, and they were still beating most of the teams that they needed to beat with DJ as the quarterback. So it wasn't a do or die. And anytime it was a do or die moment when they were losing late in the game, which quarterback did they go to? They went to Klubnik to win them some of these games. So, I think it was a lot of trying to help DJ find himself and kind of push him to get out and go to the NFL. But then when you realize it was going to affect your team too much, then you go to Cade.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens in this coming year, man, if Cade can be it. I want to address one more question before we kind of move out towards the end. Scott said earlier, do you think Colorado Buffaloes will win a championship? And I'm gonna say Pac-12. I'm gonna say and beyond. I'll start with Pac-12. Shoot, I'll even start with the championship between them and Colorado State. Let's get past that one first, because both those teams were terrible last year.
Yeah, it was. They were 2 of the last 150 teams that we're talking about to have a win. So that's 2 very, very bad programs. Are we talking within a certain time frame? Because I think eventually they win the Pac-12, especially with USC and UCLA leaving.
Right.
I think this year a realistic expectation is to get bowl eligible, win 6 games.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a ton of talent following Dion there, but it still takes time.
Right.
Especially from what that program was.
Mm-hmm.
So expect 6, I'll say 5 to 8 wins this year, just because a lot of games can go either way. And then I think 2, 3, maybe 4 years down the road is where you start expecting the conference championships. I think it's a long time before you expect a national championship. I don't know if Dion stays there long enough to get a national championship, but I think conference championships are definitely in play in the next few years.
Yeah. And I think that's where you're going to have to kind of cap it because of the fact, like you said, I don't see Dion staying there. I think this is the stepping stone. I still have my eyes set for him to eventually go to FSU.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of, I think this all leading into that. So for me, I think he'll get them back on the right trend. He'll get them right on the right trajectory and get them back maybe in the conversation. He'll win some games he probably shouldn't win going into the next couple years. But I can't see him staying, especially in this coaching landscape. I can't see him staying 5 years, much less 10 or like a Saban or something like that.
I think he's here at least 3 years, just more to see his boys and like Travis Hunter and them off to the NFL.
Right.
But then I think if it's, say, 3 years down the road, all those guys are gone and Norvell gets fired or quits or retires or leaves for another job, like I fully expect Deion Sanders to be the next Florida State coach after Mike Norvell.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think there's another coach in between them.
No, I think they're grooming it right for that. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Anthony says coaches have to get to the point where they start realizing not every high school stud is going to be the same or better in college, especially these players that have never lost in high school. They don't know how to handle failure because they've never experienced it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
And then thank you, Bo Nix, for screwing us. The Dante Moore. I want to see them play so bad.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a game. Yo, do you think Marshall Faulk will be a good college coach?
That's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, we've seen this influx of ex-players turning coaches. We got Dion, obviously, and then you got Eddie George at Tennessee State. I think Derek Ed Reed just picked that one. Yeah, so you got a bunch of these guys coming back to see it. So I don't know. I don't know if he's been coaching. A lot of these guys have coached either high school or smaller colleges or somewhere to move into this. For as far as I know, Marshall Faulk has been in the booth or NFL, and all that stuff. So, but as we saw with the Colts, as long as you know football, you can be a head coach. So, hey, Jeff Saturday, what's up?
Well, I mean, if you look at Dion, like I listened to his full interview with the Pat McAfee show. I think it was like a week ago or whatever. But this wasn't his first coaching job.
Yeah.
He was coaching his kids from like 12 years old, like Pee-wee, Adam Bantam, all the way up. He coached them through the minor football. He coached them through high school. And then he finally got that call from Jackson State. And then it was like, oh, okay, Dad, I'm going to come play for you. Like, he had kids already in the college football scene that were like, okay, I'm going to come play for you. Yeah. Shiloh was already playing. So, it's not like Dion just magically showed up at the college level. He did it like every other coach. He coached minor football, then came up to high school, then went to college. Now, he said it stops there. He says he has no desire to go to the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to these millionaires that don't care about the game anymore, is how he put it. So
aren't we going in that direction?
Well, I think if you get fully into that direction in college football, then I think you see him make his exit.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing about this now is getting these kids that still love the game. I mean, he talked about it too, when he sits down with these kids in these interviews, It's what do you want from this? And if it's anything other than to grow as a man and make it to the NFL, he writes you off completely. If your goal is still, I want to be an NFL player, he will get you there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's shown that. James Houston was from Jackson State.
Right.
We drafted him in the 6th round. I mean, he was one of the top rookie edge rushers this year.
Right.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where he's got the right kind of players in mind and the right mindset coming into that program. So,
oh yeah. And look, he's been around. He knows the system. He knows the pitfalls, what to look for and what to look out for. So shout out to him. And we already seen those guys are following him. He was not shy about saying, "Hey, I'm bringing baggage with me." Those guys weren't shy about saying, "Coach Dion, we're coming. We're trying to go play to you." And watch out for that Pac-12 because they've been making some noise in the transfer portal. So, they starting to up that ante a little bit. So we'll see what happens in this coming year. Real quick, Anthony says, I ain't mad at it. If you get to a P5 slot, the money is stupid and it's contractually guaranteed, unlike NFL money, unless it's guaranteed up front. So absolutely. Yeah.
his comment above Ashes there. The heck do we eat last night? We're all in the same mind today.
Well, I'll tell you one of the reasons why we are on the same mindset is because our friend Anthony Handy watches our show. He watches our show pretty religiously. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'm sure as heck going to toot this man over here's horn because whenever I don't know anything, knock
right back at
Alex,
you.
What's up? And we're going back and forth day in and day out. And we've said we've said a couple things that were pretty accurate. Sometimes we said things that were maybe not accurate, but
a little off,
we're still here and we're talking. And so we are going to share a little throwback to this year. Let me see if I can get this thing. It's been a while since we've had some middle of the week games. How are you feeling seeing some good ones?
Yeah, like normally it's like 2 lower tier MAC teams or to get Purdue, Penn State, and West Virginia and Pitt and just
those were 2,
especially the Backyard Bowl on a Thursday night. Like I was doing my other show Thursday night, and it was hard to pay attention to my show because it was the games were so awesome.
We'll see how Oklahoma does without Lincoln Riley. That'll be an interesting year for them as they rebuild with the new coach.
And I wouldn't want to doubt Nick Saban and all that after that national championship game.
First one I was wrong.
I think they're going to set the world on fire this year.
And I honestly think they have the best quarterback.
Notre Dame's another one. You talked about that, Kate, with being a new coach.
Yeah.
This is love. Everybody was really dogging them last year, even though they were a top 10 team. And now to have them in the top 5, or anybody lower or higher that you thought, or where you at?
I think for the most part, this is the top 5. I mean, you could throw Jimbo in there.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I hate to say it, Ryan Day's climbing his way up there.
Yep.
Harbaugh's not out that far outside. Luke Fickell isn't that far outside with what he's done at Cincinnati. So I think there's a lot of coaches that are kind of pushing, but I think that's your 5 best coaches right now.
Well, I think from FSU's perspective, they need to not only have a winning season, but not only get to a bowl game, but win a bowl game. Now, of course, again, like I said earlier, the expectations are very high at Florida State because for years and years, we've never had a downhill spiral like we had in years past. So it's like, oh, we got to have it quickly. Well, that's usually when you get in trouble is when you get rid of people earlier than expected, not build that foundation. My expectation this year should be 7-5 and to get to a bowl game. And then you go from there. I think that should be enough to save his job.
One name on this list that will not be a part of their team next year. Or are there any names?
I'm probably going to go with Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech.
Okay.
I think it's kind of time.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, the CFP they met and they have agreed to expand to 12 teams by 2026. everybody's been talking about this. Alex, I'm coming to you, man. What are your thoughts? What were your initial thoughts when you heard this?
To me, I was kind of shocked that they actually did it because they've been talking about this for years and it keeps getting pushed off and pushed off. And I think now with all this transition, like schools jump into different conferences and all that, I think it kind of forced their hand.
Yeah.
To me, you're going to have the big-time players playing the big-time games, and it's going to mean a lot more. That, to me, is only a good thing.
Tennessee blows out Ball State 59-10. I know most of you might not have seen this, but you missed on the first play of the game. Ball State ran a flea flicker and threw an interception. And that's pretty much how the game went. It was pretty much downhill from there. Sean Clifford, that last drive, I mean, he did what a six-year senior, right? He did what somebody that's been in that system, who knows the system inside and out, should do. Colin P, talk to man. What upset do you see?
But, no, I'm going out, and I've been wrestling with this one, but you know what? I'm gonna go strong. I think Texas is gonna beat Alabama today.
I'm going Tennessee over Pitt. I think Pittsburgh played an amazing game a week ago, but I think it took a lot out of them. And I think that fast-paced offensive Tennessee is going to have them a Pitt on their heels all day long. I don't think they're going to be able to have a grinded-out game like they had against West Virginia. I think that air attack is going to really kind of take the top off. I think it's going to be close for Pitt, but I think that Tennessee is going to get the upset.
I was going to go Appalachian State A&M until he went bold, and I was like, yeah, screw it, I'm doing it too.
Oh, I like that dude too, man. That App State, ooh. I was thinking about that. I think A&M's got too much of it. Herm Edwards was let go from the University of Arizona State, but the way they did it, not behind closed doors, not even after the game, technically, he's still on the field. They met the man in the end zone. The AD met him and told him this is what's happening. And the worst part about it, somebody had the audacity to film this. Syracuse gets the W over Virginia, 22-20, off the 5-field goal game. They're undefeated.
Yeah,
I like the Qs, baby. The Orange Men. I like this. Talk to me, Alex.
They're a lot of fun to watch, and it's the main thing I got from Syracuse is the same thing the ACC's been doing all year, and it looks really good for them to get a champion into the playoff. Yeah, is all these teams are hanging on. Like Syracuse is undefeated, FSU's undefeated. Like a lot of these teams that nobody expected to really do anything are doing whatever they have to do to win games.
Got to shout out Stetson Bennett. He's now, balling, man. He is balling out. He is leading the #1 team in the country, and he looks like he is doing it, and it's easy for him. He looks like he is the right now, in my opinion, he looks like the most comfortable, the most put together QB in college football. And I mean, that's
and I don't know that it's close.
Right.
I mean, you look at the Hawaii game. He went 11 of 12 or whatever it was, and his only incompletion was a drop pass. Hit the guy right on the numbers. He dropped it. Yeah. So it's McCarthy can make
all
every
the years
throw,
are up, Scott.
No matter where on the field, like perfect touch, real nice accuracy.
What up, Nick?
He's mobile. He has the highlight plays, like you just said. There's even last year when he was the backup, there was 1 to 2 plays every game where it was just like, oh my god. Yeah, like he's got the talent and potential to be a future like top draft pick.
It's a 5-touchdown Blake Corum, and definitely want to shout him out. I think he's only one of 3 Michigan running backs to have a 5 rushing touchdown game.
Yeah, Haskins last year against Ohio State. Yeah, he balled out for sure, but I love his demeanor. Like I said, he went into that press conference and said, we haven't played anybody. This is where it starts. So, another guy, don't sleep on Will Anderson.
Yes.
He is still the best overall player in college football this year.
Period. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, look, Brock Bowers, he's a man amongst boys, by far the best tight end in the country, in my opinion. I honestly think he is what gets that offense moving for Georgia. We saw 100%. Kent State. He took a jet sweep 75 yards and just outran the whole entire team. These are still athletes on the field, and he just outran this team.
Either way, for me, I'm still leaning Tennessee at home. I'm calling my shot there. I'm thinking Alabama falls this week.
It could happen, Nick. Woo! That's the upset. He's calling it right now. We're going to have different clips for this later, but I got to give
That make me crazy.
right here. They have We'll See boys. We'll see. Oklahoma by 14.
Yeah.
No. You know what?
If
I'm
Oklahoma wins, it's by a field goal.
you know what, Tanner? Because
I know where you're going.
Because you're dedicated to this, I'm going to bring up Janae in this one for you, man.
That make me crazy.
That was for you, Tanner.
Yeah.
Life is short. Go watch college football. Go take your time to go to some of these games. I went to that Michigan game, and I'm not even a huge Michigan fan, but the atmosphere was amazing. I am so excited about going to Michigan State and seeing homecoming. I definitely want to get into a North Carolina game. And even some of these smaller schools, the JMU, well, they're not small. They're coming up. You know, a lot of these other schools go to a college game, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are on this college show, so we definitely have to advocate for you to do that.
Yeah.
You will not be disappointed, man. The chills, the vibe, the band, the grilling, the people, everybody's saying their, whatever, Tar Heels, go green, go white, whatever it is, man. Let's go. Go to a game, please. Johnny Dean said, go to a whiteout game. Oh man, that's on the bucket list.
That's definitely on the bucket list. Yeah.
A solid Pitt team that, although they have 3 losses, they have a strong running game. Benaconda, the running back for Pitt, has almost 1,000 yards on the ground, 13 touchdowns. Had a game, I believe, 2 weeks ago, where over 300 yards on the ground. Like Mac Brown, our coach, said, this guy's one of the best running backs in the nation, especially that nobody really talks. Right. This guy is a legitimate force. Ford is Georgia still a team to beat? Yes. In my opinion, they are. They're undefeated. They're defending national champions, and they're playing well. We saw what they did a week ago.
There it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, little something. Yes, Scott, we do like to see ourselves talk. All right. But hey, I mean, honestly, we've been doing this since August. I think we started talking in July about getting down and doing this, and it hasn't disappointed. We've tried to get it every single week of the season. So what's up, Nicole? Thank you kindly. We appreciate it. But we've been trying to bring it to you every week of the season because we didn't want to just give you a little snippet, a little small piece of college football. We wanted to give you as much as we can give you because that's what we love. We love paying attention to it, diving into it. Man. Hey, talk to me. Well, you know what? This is how we're going to do it. And we're going to go do our final segment of the show. And we're going to use this to kind of bring out our favorite moments of this year. So our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, because we're gutsy and balls to the wall, we're going to try it. We're going for 2. Going for 2. I got to bring this one up. I understand. It still hurts. Yeah. I get it. Oh man. Yo, so JMU has actually been a perennial power in D2 for about the past 10 to 15 years. I went there for a year in 2004 and they won the national championship in D2 that year, and then they won it like 2 or 3 years later, and they've won a bunch. So they've actually been growing kind of more than, I mean, you followed more of Savannah State, Anthony, but in my opinion, more than Savannah State. I mean, we saw JMU, 5-6 weeks of the year, they were undefeated.
Yeah, you know? I think even longer than that. I think it was around that same time where Kansas played TCU. So you're talking 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. Like it was. They were one of the last 5 undefeated teams in college football.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So shout out to them. But yeah, we're going for 2, and let's take this moment to just talk about just our favorite moment of this year. For me, honestly, it was the peak before the drop But it was when I keep calling him Sam Howell because that's what's on my mind right now. Let's go.
Same style player, yeah.
Right? When Drake May when we went up and we were 8-1, and then people really started to pay attention to UNC, and I mean outside of you and I, and they really started to dive into, can he take this team to the ACC championship? Can he make it to the CFP? Can he truly be a contender in the Heisman race? That kind of attention and that kind of love that they gave Drake May and they gave North Carolina, and we had won 6 games on the road, and we had been in that 63-61 game against App State, and it just made me feel good. Everybody knows North Carolina is a primarily basketball school. Went to the national championship last year and lost it in the last second. But we have that's what we're made for. Michael Jordan, obviously 82 win the championship against Georgetown. We have been in that hunt in basketball, but football we really haven't been perennial greats. We are the home of Lawrence Taylor, probably the greatest defensive player in NFL history, but we have not been looked at as a football college. And we bring in Mack Brown, and he's got a pedigree, he's got that success, or we bring him back. And then you start to get recruits, you start to get coaches, you start to get NFL type talent coming here. And it was a culmination right at that point when we were 8-1. And it was just like, now we're starting to get the respect. Now I can wear my North Carolina stuff, not just in basketball season. Right. You know what I mean? I could wear it and be like, yeah, I'm a Tar Heel fan. How you like that? And as to where they used to be like, oh, okay, well, it's not basketball time yet, right? Now it's like, okay, all right, we got our eyes on you. So that was great for me. I absolutely loved it, and it made it more fun covering them and watching them. So what was your favorite moment of this year?
I mean, for me as the Michigan fan, it's got to be going to Columbus, going to the Horseshoe, and beating that team down south for the second year in a row. It's the first time going back-to-back since 99-2000. You're talking like Tom Brady, Drew Henson era of Michigan football. And just for somebody that hasn't seen my team beat their rival hardly ever in my life, to go back-to-back and beat them with a bigger score than we did last year, and just to kind of crush their college football playoff dreams, as we thought at the time. To do it again. It couldn't have been a better game for me, especially the news going in that Corum was going to try and play, and then you see him 2 plays and he's done. And at that point, I was kind of like, we don't have our best player. This might be it. But then JJ pops off with those long touchdowns, and Donovan Edwards with those 2 fourth quarter carries back to back for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, just to ice that game. Defense showed up as they have for the bigger portion of the last 2 years. That was a nice cherry on top for the end of the regular season for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, it's been a fun year. Scott said, I put koozies in my ear. Y'all sound like Howard Cosell. Well, Scott Taylor, we are here on Monday Night Football. That's my only impersonation, and we're
done.
Love it. Yes, Nick. Tar Heels. Let's get it. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, hey, we appreciate you guys watching here. When we first started, just with me and Alex, it was us watching the show on our phone while we did the show. And those are the only people really kind of in the comments and going back and forth. Handy, you've been in here with Colin P. Scott, shout out to you. Food's been in here. Ben, my guy Nick, Nicole, all of you, Ash, Sydney. Shout out to you guys that have taken a minute to watch us do what we love doing, talking college football. I know I've shared this with you. This is I love Let's Talk Football with Janae. I mean, that's always up there, but this is pushing. This is This is one of those that I've always wanted to do. And when I met you, it was like, we might have something. Yeah. We might have something here.
Yeah, when I started talking college football with you, I was like, okay, we got this.
Right.
I mean, This show starts at 8 a.m. for me, so for me to get up that early, like, it's got to be worth it. So yeah, I love doing this show, and I can't wait to keep it rolling.
Let's go. I love that, man. And hey, I'm gonna say it. We both share this sentiment, but I appreciate you because, like you said, it is 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning. Yeah. And there have been times when you've hit me up, just like I hit you up this morning, where I was kind of like, dang, I just woke up, man. What's going on?
Yeah.
But it's that constant, like, yo, don't worry about it. Let me know when you're ready. Because that makes my week, man. That absolutely does. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Let's Talk College Football. For me, your boy, Sean Spencer, my guy right here, Mr. Alex Loosemore. He says, pretty doggone good, Sean. I need to work on the magnets. Boom! That's my Madden right there, you know?
Love it.
Yo, we will see you next time. Definitely going to be reaching out over this off season because honestly, as you know, college football, the games might have ended, but right now is when all the speculation happens. Who's going to the pros, who's coming back another year, who's
signing
doing
days coming up pretty quick.
Exactly. The transfer portal is huge. You talked about it last time we talked about TCU's coach is kind of like, they got to fix something on here because I'm sitting here trying to get ready for the national championship. And now I got recruits coming and transfer guys. And and there's just so much there. So honestly, there's really not room for a break, man. If we really wanted to just keep it going through, lead into the draft, spring games, and right back to this very spot next August. Can't wait for it to happen. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. We're going to leave you with all the shows in the Let's Talk Football community. Check out my guy right here, Alex Loosemore. Thursday nights, he's with NFL Edition. Friday nights, he's with Foobs on there. You weren't on there yesterday.
No, my family showed up into town, so I had to take the night off. But
I get it.
I should be back next week.
I can dig it. Shout out to the family and shout out to you, Scott. Scott, you've been really coming in the comments as these last couple months. Shout out to you. You're always about your Rams. Go Rams. I'm with it. Unless they play a certain team. We don't know our names, but we still have a team. Let's go. Let's get it. So, we are out of here. Hey, hope you guys have a good week. We will definitely be back with you soon. Look forward to some college basketball. I know Ben was talking about it. I know I'm definitely interested in it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I can't wait.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. But we shall see you next time. Deuces. Let's go! Talk!